to speak with friends and family, right?
I did speak to my sister. I haven't been able to get a hold of my mom and dad yet, but she said that she would get a hold of them, and they were just worried about me. So,
what are you going to do tonight?
I'm going to sit on my front porch and I guess do a little praying. So,
is that what gets you through something like this, your faith, or?
Yeah. It will.
Is it surreal, though, walking around, though, and seeing this and knowing, you know, you're fine, you're here?
It's just unbelievable. I mean, I keep saying that over and over and over, but that's all I can say because I just can't believe it really did happen.
I got to ask you, being a homeowner, we talk about the Oklahoma standard whenever we have a natural disaster, complete strangers, helping out strangers. What does it mean to you to see people coming in these neighborhoods and helping you guys out during this tough time?
It means a lot because I've had a lot of people, you know, pulling, say, little wagons with water and blankets. You know, they're going up and down the streets wondering if we need anything. And like the fire department here, they've all been real good about, you know, coming in and asking if we need anything. So they're doing a real good job.
Yeah, you mentioned 1999. I missed this neighborhood.
Yes, it went right by. It went right down Santa Fe and 4th and headed on across the highway, I-35, and went on into Midwest City.
And I know after 99, you know, people, I'm sure, how are we going to ever get through this? But honestly, I mean, something so devastating like this, what can your community do? How do you guys get through something like this?
I'm getting ready to find out. I've just never been through it, so I'm getting ready to find out.
Yeah. Were you able to salvage anything in your house that meant a lot to you, prized possession?
There's a lot that I found in my neighbor's yard. A lot I found in my backyard. There's a lot I might not ever find. So.
Well, Curtis, thank you so much for taking time out. It is honestly an honor to sit here and talk to you and to be right here. This is just such a horrific event that happened, and we have gotten reports from the AP of at least 37 people confirmed dead, and you're here, you're alive, and we wish you the best, and if there's anything we can do for you, just let us know.
Thank you very, very much.
All right, thanks so much, Curtis. So there you have it in this neighborhood. Obviously, most of the houses destroyed or heavily damaged, but no serious injuries. A lot of people just thankful to be alive tonight. Paul?
Boy, Curtis is a very thankful man and a very lucky man to sit there and watch this thing and to shut the door. And he said as soon as he shut it, it came back and hit him, and the windows caved in on that place. He said it sounded like an airplane taking off from Tinker Field. The roar of it is what he heard and what he remembers. We've been in contact with OU Medical Center this evening. I want to let you know they have 20 patients there, 12 adults, 8 children, and they range in all kinds of conditions. They've got them in the trauma rooms there, so you know some of these people are very critical. That is what they are saying right there. But some of them also have some minor injuries. OU Medical Center, by the way, is our only level 1 trauma center, so you know if they're going there, there's some serious situations going on. Just look at these live pictures coming in. What's left of a billboard? Not very much. Just crumbled into a mess. And my goodness, I hope there weren't houses right there, but it sure looks like this is a residential area and a street, and you just see people standing there looking. And it certainly does look like this was a neighborhood. And more live pictures right now. This coming in to us. People are just now starting to get into their neighborhoods. You know, so many people have had a hard time getting to their places. See the guy in the backpack? We spoke to him earlier, and one of the things that he said, and I wrote down the quote of this and I tweeted about it. He said, "I haven't prayed in 15 years, and I sat down and prayed on this one." And he made it through. He made it through okay. And all of those people there pitching in have made it through. And there are many, many people that are okay this evening, but boy, there are many people who are not okay this evening. Right now, we know at least 37 people have been killed in this tornado. We are still working to find out exactly where those areas are. I want to let you know that one of the hardest hit areas is the Plaza Towers Elementary School. And that neighborhood in that area, from what we're being told from Dan Thomas on the scene, our reporter, is that it is wiped clean. We are not going to hear good things coming out of that area as we get more information. Some of the good news coming out of Briarwood Elementary School, not far away, was that many of those kids have been reunited with their parents. Many of those kids' parents happened to be there because school was out, so they sheltered their children. We also talked to some people who said some teachers really helped out. There was one teacher I recall hearing her name, Miss Simon, at Briarwood. She got kids in their position, and she said, get in the position that we practiced, get in the position that we practiced. And then the kid said on television that the bricks just started coming in. Boy, those teachers knew what to do. They knew where to put those kids, and they knew how to make sure that they were in as safe a spot as they could get in all of this. Here's some folks just helping out. I imagine that this is probably some friends that came to see some of their folks that have gotten into a bad situation and probably had a lot of damage, and they're just have the car to sit in, and that's where they are. But boy, the smiles and the hugs. You'll love to see that, because that means that everything is going to be okay for those folks, and they made it through. Meteorologist Rusty McCraney joining me now. And Rusty, you know, we just keep looking at all this damage, and the numbers are going to come in. We're going to find out exactly what kind of tornado this was, but boy, it was a big one.
It was very large, Paul. I think the intensity will rival that of the May 3rd tornado. I can tell you this, you know, I was looking at Advantage Doppler HD the entire time. I did see winds on the radar that would be of an EF5 scale. You know, it obviously looks like the destruction is consistent with at least an EF4, which is what the Weather Service has already preliminarily said it is. And for them to basically take a cursory view of this without actually doing a storm survey and saying it's an EF4, no doubt in my mind that at least at certain points along that path, they're going to find what they consider to be EF5 damage. And that's how they rate these storms. They look at the structure of the building, they look to see what it is made out of and how old it is, and then they look to see what kind of devastation there is out of it.
Did you see Danielle's hair right there, just being blown about that? I mean, they're really close to this thing. I mean, you can see the debris flying around them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you see up in the air coming through. And I know Damon told me, I don't know if you passed it along on the air, but we're getting reports that debris from Moore is landing in Tulsa right now.
It is hard to believe.
That's 90 miles away from this event, Paul. But it is probably the strongest tornado that I've been a part of here in Oklahoma. This is my 7th severe storm season with KOCO. The Piedmont tornado a couple of years ago, I think, is going to be right in that same range, and that was an EF5.
Yeah.
Okay, but you know,
it's much more rural out there,
right,
as well. I mean, you know, we had a lot of damage, but boy, this hit right in the heart of everything.
Absolutely, and because you have those kinds of structures, very large buildings like the Warren Theater and some newer buildings, the Weather Service is going to be able to tell just how strong those winds were. But what I'm saying is that what we saw on radar were winds that were consistent with an EF5. And yesterday, we thought that the Shawnee tornado, the winds that I saw were an EF4, and that's what they rated it. So I think, you know, more than likely they are going to rate this at least at points along the path to be an EF5. But it's devastating, Paul. This obviously went to a very populated area. You know, we as meteorologists, you know, we can't point the tornadoes in a direction. You know, all we can do is try and give everyone as much lead time as possible. We hope we did that. We hope everyone heeded the warnings. I know you reiterated it, but you know, when we saw this tornado, we knew that if you're going to be above ground, you know, you might be endangering your life. We know not everyone can get below ground,
right?
But you know, it's just a fantastic reminder of just how, you know, deadly the storms can be. But just like what we're seeing out there, the recovery efforts that are already ongoing, it really what makes Oklahoma.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, I mean, I say it all the time. I always say, I can't believe what I just saw from the weather in Oklahoma, from everything, and it's just, it never ceases to amaze me. I've never seen anything like it, and I say it over and over again, and I mean, none of us have seen this kind of stuff.
And we have some, you know, we have some very intense weather people around here, and I say that because they love weather, and that's why they live in central Oklahoma. And they were, to say, flabbergasted, if you will, that the weather season had gone so slow. We talked about the tornado drought, Paul, but one thing that we mentioned to them was it only takes one, and it only takes one day, and this will now forever change how we view the 2013 severe weather season in Oklahoma. You know, My home, I grew up in Florida. I was actually flooded out of my home back in 1993, and that was the superstorm. But you never heard about us. You know, it was always about what happened in the Northeast later that day. And I tell people, you know, the one that you remember the most is the one that affected you.
True.
I remember that storm. The people that were affected back on May 3rd, they'll remember that storm. Those who were affected today will remember that as the one that impacted your life the most.
Yeah, and this one is really going to go down in history.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have seen the view from Sky 5 just scouring the ground as it went along.
Right.
And I'm sure tomorrow at first light, when we begin to really see more of this path, and you get up a little bit higher,
right.
You're going to really see the direct little trek that it took, because it was on the ground for quite a long time.
It was, Paul. And I want to tell you something. We dedicated all of our resources to today. We had every single available photographer, reporter, crew with our satellite phones, with our fast video. We had all of our stringer chasers, the people that we bring in on days like this. Everyone was out, and we spread the net. And we weren't able to show all of the video that we had, because of course you can only show one at a time. I can tell you this because I've seen it. We have additional video coming into the station right now, which will start showing viewers from multiple different vantage points of this storm. And it was a large, violent tornado as it was going through more. You know, it was just so dark, Paul. The sky was just so dark. There was so much debris within that cone. It really was amazing. And like you said, for many folks, they've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, there's a picture that I took at 3:01 that I tweeted out earlier today, and I'll retweet that in a little while, but it was at 3:01, and you can see how dark the sky is. You know, you're talking about all the video that we're out getting. Go over to koco.com. You know, that is such an incredible resource. Look at this sky. Look at this.
It just was that amazing.
I mean, it's beyond a movie. It's beyond The Wizard of Oz.
Right.
You know, when you look at this, it's just, that sky is as dark as it can be.
Well, Paul, we knew the setup was going to be bad today. We knew it was going to be the similar setup to yesterday. We knew that tornadoes developing along I-35 were possible. We thought it would be south of I-40. You know, the target area was pretty close to where it actually happened. We knew there were going to be, you know, isolated storms of some nature. Obviously, you never expect this, Paul.
No.
But you try and prepare for it the best that you can. And like I said, hopefully we gave people, you know, enough lead time so that they could seek shelter or get out of the path of the storm. You know, it did dissipate just before Lake Stanley Draper. Unfortunately, it was a little too late for the Moore area. And like you said, Paul, this is going to be a very wide tornado as it went through. Now, we've also had people, you know, asking me, well, what's the forecast coming up? Well, you know, we're still in the heart of severe weather season.
Right.
You know, this is only May 20th. I can tell you that the weather is going to be quieter for the next couple of days. That is going to be good news for the recovery efforts for all the storm crews and OG&E and all the power people who have to get out there to do their work. And remember, there is some work still going on the northern sides of the metro as well. Pennsylvania Avenue near Memorial. The power lines are still down there, so we took some damage even, remember, from Saturday storms.
That's right.
We had the EF1 storm in Edmond yesterday, Kearney and Shawnee. We're not going to forget about you guys. Bethel Acres. There's a lot of different areas in the metro that are going to have those quiet days, and luckily they'll have a couple.
We need them. Governor has declared 21 counties a state of emergency. I want to go out to KOCO's Ariel Reshef right now. She's been over there by the Warren Theater. Ariel, we continue to see the damage. Everywhere you look, you've got a mess on your hands.
That's absolutely right, Paul. I'm standing in front of what used to be the bowling alley here. You can see that there's just water pouring out of here like a flood. The entire building has collapsed upon itself, and now we see that rescue crews, when we were mentioning that recovery, the rescue effort, well, there's crews here from as far as Lawton. That's about 70 miles away from here. So you can see that the entire state has just banded together to try to rescue and recover as many people as possible that may have been trapped under this catastrophic rubble, really. And we are going to hopefully stand by for an interview with authorities from Lawton that can brief us on what they've heard from the ground. Paul?
Thank you very much, Ariel. Okay, I want to bring a guy in here. Chris Lee, you have heard his name a lot. You've seen this little picture. You are an incredible storm chaser, Chris, and the threat is over right now. So you guys have come back for the evening after today. Tell me about today. You've been here, you've been in this market a long time. Tell me about today.
It was one of the most intense things I've ever seen, really probably the last couple of days. If I could go back just to yesterday. Yesterday, I live in Edmond. My house is near 33rd and Bryant, and I am in Edmond watching a tornado forming right down 33rd. One of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. Today we were out west of Moore and we watched this. This was where we were between May and Penn on 149th Street, watching this just off to our west towards I guess it was west of Newcastle, and it started fairly small.
This is 2:56 in the afternoon. I've got all this on camera. I'm going to show you these pictures.
Okay. And we had some, I'm not quite sure, we had some video, we had some dash camera video also, so we're looking at it as we're driving and trying to stay with it. It started as a fairly small, but yesterday's kind of went down, it would come back up, it went down, it would come back up, and I think the feeling, and obviously those at Vest Lakers don't feel this, but we kind of dodged a bullet. It could have been a whole lot worse yesterday, and today is one of those days you look and you go, it couldn't have been a lot worse. It was just awful. The storm just got bigger and bigger. You looked at times you're not quite sure when it's touching down, so I'm trying to report when I see it touch the ground. But we knew the warning came out easily 10 minutes before the tornado touched down, and that's your warning. That's your time when you, as a person having your precautions, your plans, what you're going to do, where you're going to go, need to start doing those things.
And this thing is getting bigger by the second as you're watching this. What's going through your head right here? This is your video, right?
Right, and we're basically, in order to do that, this is just a little bit, this is probably, I probably edited maybe 2 minutes out before it went from that, fairly small tornado to now that's somebody's house. Those pieces of debris are big pieces of debris. This thing is now maybe a quarter of a mile wide, and I also have noticed, yes, it's moving slightly. You see it's gone from the telephone pole on the left of the screen to behind the tree, so it's moving a little bit left to right, but it's just getting bigger, so it's kind of coming to our area. We had to move a lot, and this is coming towards us. We'd run up a couple of miles ahead of it, stop and get a picture, and we could maybe stay 30 seconds, and then we'd have to go. And you see the string of cars. There are a lot of storm chasers, a lot of people leaving their homes. It's a very frustrating thing to be trying to be out there while all this is going on, because you have all these drivers. You have a lot of drivers who are afraid, and a lot of drivers who are trying to get into the trying to get in not in the way of the storm, but to stay with the storm. And
stay with it, and then those people just trying to get out of harm's way, because you guys know where to go. You've got radar in your truck. Your truck is amazing, and you've got all this equipment in there, so you know where to go. All these other folks, they're just trying to get to a safe spot.
Right, and it's a lot of times it's not obvious. At one point, the tornado, I mean, you look at it, you can't really see the shape of the tornado at that point, so you're not quite sure, is that what I'm seeing? Am I seeing a lot of rain? Am I seeing a lot of, and then it becomes obvious what it is, but it's very, very close, and how to get out of the way. This was when it was the closest to us, when we saw it as it crossed, that's 4th Street and Moore, which is 134th Street, and it crossed Air Depot there. You can see the power flashes, you can see the debris. It was probably about a quarter of a mile to our north, passing just north of that intersection.
You can see, there's a shot here in a second where you see Danielle's hair blowing in this, and I want you to know that right now we are standing by. We're going to go to the governor in just a moment. We're waiting, and in fact I hear she's walking to the podium. Let's take a listen.
A very, very sad day for the state of Oklahoma, a very hard day, a tragic day of tremendous disaster that has hit this community of Moore and other areas of the state, beginning yesterday with the terrible storms that passed through so many different areas, and certainly today with the accumulation of this big tornado that hit along the same path of the May 3rd tornado in 1999. It's just hard to believe that something like this could happen again to Moore itself. And I just want to say, first of all, that our prayers and our thoughts are with the Oklahoma families that have been hit hard by this terrible storm these last 2 days. And in particular, our hearts are just broken for the parents that are wondering the state of their children that have been in the schools that have been hit today, and certainly the other businesses and facilities that have been hit hard. I know that there are families wondering where their loved ones are, and right now we're doing everything we can as a state to get as much emergency personnel, state agencies, all the different charities that are out doing search and rescue efforts, trying to make sure that we have looked under every single piece of debris in every single building and along the roads and communities to find anyone that might be injured or might be lost from the storms that have hit the state of Oklahoma. I just want to say how much I appreciate all the first responders, the law enforcement entities, the fire, the police, the Red Cross, Salvation Army, the Highway Patrol. We've called out the National Guard and certainly many other emergency services throughout the state, the hospitals that are responding so well to those that have been injured in this terrible storm that has struck our state. And we're doing everything we can to get all the resources out throughout this community, and certainly we have other areas of the state that we're also dealing with right now. We will bear no resource. We'll bring every single resource out that we can. We've had offers from other governors across the nation. I've even had a phone call from President Obama, who sends his prayers for the state. Has also offered to do anything that he can to speed up our federal assistance and any type of red tape that might be in our way, and offer resources too. We have called in extra resources from out of state for search and rescue. We have brought in rescue dogs to go through the debris itself. It will be dark pretty soon, and we want to do everything that we can to continue to look for those that might be lost in this tragedy. I want to encourage all Oklahomans that can to stay away. We have lots of law enforcement, emergency personnel that are working on the sites itself. We have tremendous traffic jams on our highways right now with I-35 and I-44 that took a direct hit with the tornado crossing those areas, and there are many side streets that are also jammed up with traffic. Communication is very hard with cell phone towers and also with down power lines throughout various areas of the state, and in particular in Moore and this vicinity too. So communication is very, very hard. So we're asking the public to be as patient as possible in letting us work through what we need to, and knowing that we're doing every single thing that we can to assist those that are in need right now and bring out the resources. I want to say thank you so very much to the media. The media has done a superb job over the last couple of days of keeping people informed about the current weather conditions, especially our weatherman and those that have been on the ground driving and following and tracking the storm itself. As I visited around Bethel Acres today, the trailer park that lost so many homes and lost some people, and also around Kearney, Oklahoma, and Highway 177 in Shawnee, I had many people come up and say, because of the media and their rapid response and reporting on the track of the storms, that they were able to get to a storm shelter, and we saved a lot of lives because of that. But as we know today, we've had a massive tornado, a huge one, that has passed through this community. We do know there are fatalities. We don't have a number count yet. We know there are a lot of injuries. We know we've lost a tremendous amount of structures throughout this community and throughout the state. Our health department and our medical examiner are working as quick as they can to try to help families identify and try to find their loved ones. For those families who don't know the status of their loved ones, and in particular the children that were in the schools that have been hit, there is a reunification center set up at St. Andrew's Church at 119th and South May. And our prayers are with you, and we're working as quickly as we can to try to get through the debris and to try to answer some questions about where loved ones are. We have, of course, signed a federal emergency declaration yesterday for 16 counties. Today we've added another 5 counties to that emergency declaration. It will allow us to access emergency services, coordinate with the local communities, make emergency purchases for the communities, bring in resources to help with the search and rescue and certainly with the cleanup itself. And we have been in direct contact with FEMA and talking to them about the various types of aids and assistance that we need, both for individual families, for our businesses, and the community disaster relief itself. Please know that we're working as quickly as we can. There are a tremendous amount of people that are helping. For those who aren't involved in rescue operations, please stay away from the immediate vicinity so that we can bring in the type of emergency services that we need to. And we will be continuously updating you. Tomorrow I will be taking an aerial tour with our National Guard